Second.
Roll call, please.
Ms. Vaughn?
Yes.
Mr. Tobacco?
Yes.
Ms. Karan?
Yes.
Ms. Carton?
Yes.
Ms. Grant?
Yes. Do I have a motion to amend the agenda to add the recognition of the Juanita W. Patron Endowment?
So move. Second.
Mr. Krantz, I'll turn that over to you. Yes. All those in favor?
Aye.
Is that what I was missing? Okay. All right, it's a little
Thank you, Ms.
disheveled here.
Thank you, Ms. Graham. Approximately a year ago, we were approached by the executor of the estate of Ralph Patron. Mr. Patron wanted to create an endowment on behalf of his mother, who was a lifelong resident in the New River Valley, an extremely talented and lover of the game of golf, and wanted to set up an endowment that would give forever to the children of Montgomery County Public Schools a golf program. And so I'm here tonight, and there's 7 family members along with John Skelton, who's the executor of the trust, and I'll let him say a few brief remarks. But tonight he's given us a third check. The endowment is for $1 million. It will remain as a restricted account within the county government section, and the intent is to use a portion of the proceeds as well as the interest and the investment income from that endowment to continue to bring golf to all of the students of Montgomery County Public Schools. Danny, as his position with the athletic directors, will oversee the actual implementation of the program and will ensure the funds are there. So with that, John, you could.
Thank you very much. I know people have been waiting a long time to be heard in this meeting, so we'll be short. I'll just tell you very briefly about the endowment. This is from the Ralph W. Patron, which was Ralph was a lifetime friend of mine. I grew up in Blacksburg, lived there most all my life, and we've been friends for over 60 years. The whole family was avid golfers in the early 1960s. Ralph, at 13 years old, won the junior championship at Blacksburg Country Club, and his mother won the women's, and his father won the men's. But Ralph's mother passed away, and then a couple of months later, Ralph got pancreatic cancer and only lived 6 months longer. And during that time, he asked me to be an executor, and we talked with each other at length about what he wanted to do with the money. And first, he wanted his father, who some of you may know, he went by the name Pete Patron, to take care of him for the rest of his life, which we did. He lived 4 years longer and passed at the age of 99. So we developed this fund under Ralph's wishes. We have some members of the Wright family here that I'll ask Gail to introduce very briefly. But what the funds are, the purpose of the funds are, Juanita was an avid golfer. She played in the Virginia State Golf Association Women's Division Championship for 50 consecutive years, and she was given an award by the Virginia State Golf Association honoring her as a lifetime participant, a friend, and somebody who enjoyed the game of golf. And I think that's one thing I emphasize. This money is not for everybody that wants to be an excellent golfer. Juanita established many relationships and many friendships over her 50-some years in golf from all walks of life, and she realized that economically that not everybody could enjoy the game. And so that's what this money is going for. The endowment just means that the bulk of the funds will be invested by a financial advisor, so it will continue to grow and perpetuate itself. We have a stipulation in there, and we hope and encourage everybody to get the word out that we hope that other civic clubs, other organizations, other businesses, other individuals, anybody that really believes that this is good for the children. I think he's coming at a great time because of all the things they've had to deal with over the last couple of years. So that's in essence is why it was set up, how it was set up to help a lot of other people. I just talked to a friend of mine today and told him I was going to come over and make an announcement. He says, well, I got about 10 sets of golf clubs I'll give you that can be cut down for the kids and stuff like that. So anyway, that's the purpose of it. I hope the word will get out. I hope some press will get out. I hope you all will spread the word. And the fact that we have left it open-ended, that anybody can contribute to this fund. We also put a component in there that it's not teaching just the skills of the game. But with golf comes golf etiquette, comes sportsmanship, ethics. So we put those in as components too. So it's not just teaching how to play. So at this time, let me ask Gail Wright Stowers, who's a member of the Wright family, to come up and just introduce the rest of the family that's here, so at least kind of put a name with a face.
If I can remember all my relatives' names. I'm Gail Stowers, and my father, Doug Wright, was one of Juanita's brothers. My sister, Kathy, and then a brother that is still Richard Wright. Then have some. She has some nephews here. Good, right? His dad Jim was one of Juanita's brothers. Bill Wright, his dad Garland was one of her brothers. That's everybody.
I can tell you some of the other Wrights I know. Caudill Wright, who I played ball with Ralph in high school, is a cousin, and Stevie Wright that taught at Christiansburg High School and played ball there. He's a relative, and little Tess Wright, if you all know her, about 5 foot tall, she's a relative too. But thank you very much for everybody's time.
Thank you.
On behalf of the board, we would like to say thank you for your donation. For our students, it will be well put to use. Thank you.
Thank you.
You.
At this time and at each of our regularly scheduled meetings, the school board sets aside up to 30 minutes for residents, students, and employees to address the board about issues pertaining to public education in Montgomery County. Each speaker is allotted 3 minutes to speak. Ms. Drake will have a timer on the screen. As a reminder, the board does not respond to speakers during public address. The first speaker we have on the list is Sean Gaynor.
Saw this on the docket. So 8 days ago, I turned 50, and I give God the praise for giving me life. Out of high school, a co-op at NASA, and a few years of teaching martial arts led me to take it between mechanical engineering and high school teacher. Teaching felt so right, and I knew I made a difference in the lives of many paths I did cross. I chose high school as the last place most people receive formal education before entering the workforce. I've been ridiculed even by a family member, as I was told I was wasting my time in the path that I've chosen. I know I'm doing the right thing, for hand cannot do the work of an ear, nor the ear the work of an eye. We're one body, one unit. I've dedicated 22 years of my life to teaching in the public education system. I'm not here to further the divide created by our nation's media and public broadcast systems, but to inform and educate nonetheless. I only ask that you do what we've always done, question and search. We've come to a point where we no longer question, but we bow. As a driver education teacher, I teach teens about the #1 killer. I show stats from the CDC. In 2020, I was curious how this virus affected mortality rates, something I've checked many times, only to find that the statistics were hidden. Months later, new numbers reappear, and I see that the flu has all but disappeared and that our mortality rate for 2020 actually went down. Wow, an incredible feat, especially all the while our population continues to rise and we are told so many are dying from the sickness. I see doctors and actors like J-Lo taking the vaccine, all the while encouraging us, the very definition of a red flag. Why? Why are you giving me ice cream and lottery tickets to get this one done? Why are the stories of the adverse reactions people are having being taken down off of social media sites? Just 2 days ago, a former student of mine posted that to not get the shot no matter what, being in good health for many years, and with a few weeks of getting the vaccine, he has fluid around his heart, and he is very sick. Most of our nation's teens are dying right now, victims of suicide, or as we are forcing them into isolation, telling them to stay away and not touch each other, and implanting in their heads that the thought that others are nasty and sick. We have chosen to dedicate our lives to growing the future of our town, our city, our America, yet we continue as a lamb led to the slaughter as more mandates are brought down upon us, and without question, we submit. We make our kids wear masks despite bacterial-induced respiratory problems like pneumonia. Now we're going to keep enforcing this and add on top of that a shot that everyone will take, a vaccine that it's in its 3rd stage of clinical trials. We've not seen that even the creator of the mRNA vaccine has said to not take it under any circumstances? Have we not seen that their federal employee whistleblower with the video evidence on how the vaccine bringing in people to hospitals and them dying? Have we not seen that the 2 top officials of the FDA have resigned from their jobs as a result of making a vaccine that we now offer to our younger children? It seems their conscience will not allow them to push this envelope any further. When the VAERS report showed that 70+% of the new cases were in vaccinated people, Israel and the U.S. took it down. Still yet, we have no question. No one is.
Thank you, Mr. Gaynor. Your time is up.
Thank you for your time.
The next person is Carrie Edwards. Want to approach the mic if you could state your name and the location of your residence.
Good evening. My name is Carrie Edwards, and I'm a town of Blacksburg resident. I want to thank you all for giving me the opportunity to speak on behalf of my husband and myself. In light of the events surrounding Mr. Thompson, an English teacher at Blacksburg High School last week, my husband and I felt it was imperative that we express our concerns. While we were appalled by the content of the videos, we were even more upset with Montgomery County Schools' lack of concern regarding the matter. We were sent blanket responses to our email of concern, which stated that his opinions were not a reflection of the opinions of MCPS. However, in these videos, this gentleman is wearing a Blacksburg High School shirt, and videos are being shot from his classroom. While I too agree that everyone is entitled to their own opinions, my husband and I also believe that educators should be neutral in their instruction and influence. Mr. Thompson's opinions cannot be allowed to be the focus of his classroom. However, book wish lists for his classroom suggest otherwise. Almost every book listed has a very strong political or controversial theme. Our greatest concern is that the focus of his instruction and/or assignments could have or are currently making children fearful of being able to express their own opinions if they do not align with those of Mr. Thompson. In a time where everyone seems to be focused on inclusion and equity, I have a hard time believing that inclusion of all opinions and beliefs is at the center of his instruction. The tone of Mr. Thompson's videos suggests that these beliefs, opinions, convictions are a core part of who he is, a religion of sorts. Just as some could argue that their Christian, Muslim, Hindu, or agnostic beliefs and convictions are a core part of who they are. We are asking for a complete investigation of this matter, with dismissal of his duties until the investigation is final. If the investigation fails to provide evidence that not a single child has been made to feel uncomfortable, isolated, or shamed because their personal beliefs do not align with Mr. Thompson's. In closing, I would like to read a statement from a former student that was given to me, asked to read on their behalf. Mr. Thompson's class made me feel uncomfortable. He made it very clear that he is a safe place for transgendered community, and that about those who didn't fit into that category. I was one who did not fit into this category. Where is my safe place? His teaching style included readings about Black Lives Matter movement. And I'm gonna skip through because I want this statement to be heard. I had to pick uncontroversial
Thank you, Ms.
topics.
Edwards. Your time is up. The next speaker is Brad Epperly.
Good evening. My name's Brad Epperly. I'm from the Longshop area of Montgomery County. Good evening, Dr. Meyer, Chairperson Graham, members of the school board. First, I want to say thank you to Dr. Meyer as well as Mr. Simpson from Blacksburg High School for responding to my concerns last week. I appreciate you taking the time to reach back out to me and talk with me. That means a lot. I've come here tonight because of the same concerns Ms. Edwards has is, you know, the incident that occurred at Blacksburg High School with the employee, publicly advocating for noncompliance of the rules in his classroom and has deliberately broken the code of conduct that you have within your school system. A teacher's responsibility is to maintain discipline in the classroom, to avoid ridicule and negative comparison of students, and to enforce the rules and regulations of the school and the students' responsibility listings. The social media standards of staff conduct, code 5-1.6, has also been compromised in what he's accomplished. According to this same policy, the school climate reads that Montgomery County Public Schools is committed to equity in creating and maintaining a positive school climate free of disruption and threat to persons or property supportive of individual rights. It's obviously been a disruption. It occurred and it's actually been provoked. The philosophy of the school states that Montgomery County School Board intends for the schools to promote good citizenship and to provide an atmosphere which is safe and conducive to learning. In the statement of inclusivity, it is stated that your vision is we inspire to learning by providing nurturing environment, positive relationships, high expectations, and continuous growth. Do you really think that this vision was accurately displayed this past week? The role of a teacher should be to help students learn by imparting knowledge of facts to them and by setting up a situation and atmosphere in which students can and will learn effectively. In order to provide this effective education for the students, it requires the teacher to teach the curriculum and to provide the facts, not personal points of view or opinions. The influence of a teacher is a great one. It can be very positive, it can also be very negative. Either way, that influence stays with these young minds for a long time. We all have personal values, we all have personal views and opinions, and we should respect that of others when they don't necessarily agree with what our own are. However, when they're used to advocate for noncompliance of rules that could cause an unsafe environment in our schools, cause disruption of learning, diminish the value of discipline and respect, that's when it needs to be addressed. There are many great teachers in Montgomery County. Many. My children have great mentors from many of these teachers, and I want to brag on them. They do the things the right way. However, the incident that occurred this past week puts a scarred image on Montgomery County Public Schools. It affects the great teachers that are here doing the right things. It appalls me that we are basically taking away discipline and learning in our classroom.
Thank you,
It's
Mr.
not right.
Epperly. Your time is up. The next speaker is Donald Upham. Did I say that correctly? Upham?
My name is Donald Upham, and I live in Reiner. I am a substitute for Montgomery County Schools. I come from a background in California of having graduated with BS in Industrial Arts and a Master's in Education, and also have 3 years of theological seminary training. I was part of the Los Angeles County Fire Department for 24 years, served as a paramedic for 8 years, and as an EMT for 27 years. And so I've had a lot of experience of meeting people in all kinds of settings with all kinds of issues. I have lots of other experience, but I'm not going to talk about that because I want to tell you about my experience over this last couple of weeks with the kids at Eastern Montgomery Elementary School. I teach primarily primary grades. I figure I still know a little bit more than they do. And I really love the kids because they're the same age as my grandkids. I've been teaching since December last year, and I can only teach 2 days a week because my wife needs transportation on other days for medical reasons. I've been watching the kids become more and more disruptive. I've seen all of the kids with sores on their nose from the mask. I see them with acne and spots on their faces. I see them falling asleep in class, falling asleep during tests because of the excess carbon dioxide that they're rebreathing in continually, let alone all of the bacteria on the masks and everything else. When statistics from the CDC say that there's a very, very less than 1% chance of kids having problems with COVID. And I would say that too because both my wife and I have had what was diagnosed as COVID by the test that doesn't really know whether it's COVID or a common cold. But I would like for you to examine how many kids get sick in an average year and how many kids are getting sick now. And it's not because of the masks. If it is because of the mask, it's because of the bacteria that they're taking in. I've given you reports on studies that have been done on masks and also issues having to do with informed consent. And I would also like to say that I emailed you all an article on the FDA's recent decision about the third booster shot and about the vaccine in general and adverse, and on ivermectin.
Thank you, Mr. Thank you, Mr. Upman. Your time is up. The next speaker is Michael Roop.
Hello, my name is Michael Roop. I'm a bus driver for the Eastern Montgomery Strand. Lived here my whole life. My grandfather drove for Montgomery County Schools for 30 years. Mr. Knott knows him. A lot of people did. I took on this job almost 5 years ago to make a difference for kids. It's not about the money, never has been. But on the docket that was supposed to be, that we saw on an email from Brenda Drake, was talk about mandatory vaccinations. That is not something that I believe should be forced on employees. I have parents that from my students that have chose not to get the vaccines as well. I spend time with these kids. These are kids that, if you can make an impact on one, it's worth it. You know, we've talked about the transgender. Maybe it's not my belief in that, but I accept it. I have 2 transgender students on my bus that have the utmost respect for me, and I have it for them. We talk about everything. But if you force a vaccine on somebody that the stats are showing are not working, the stats are very clear. Coach O back there, the gentleman that just spoke, the stats do not lie. If you force that, you're going to lose a lot of drivers. And we already know that the driver shortage in our county has been very tough. Very tough. We've added on a lot of things on us. A lot. But we are going to do it. But I'm not going against my convictions to get a shot in my arm that I don't believe in. That's something that's not going to be. So if you choose to make that, you're taking away from me the opportunity to make a difference on just one kid's life. One kid. And as I said, I've got 2 on my bus that I'm able to connect with and talk to. So please, I'm begging you, look at the stats. Don't force something that we know is not right. You can't tell me that I need a vaccine in my body, a shot to go in my body, when that is my body. We look at abortions. I know this is not the place, but abortions, that is the woman's right. And we've all come to that. Well, it is my right to have a needle go in my arm that I don't believe with. Sorry. I'm a little nervous. I've never been up in front of everybody before. But I'm imploring you, please, don't take that away from me. Making a difference on one kid. One kid is worth it. I wear my mask. I do everything, even with the 128-degree temperatures on a bus because we don't have air conditioners. That we were told, I got 7 seconds, we were told 2 years ago that every bus in the county, new ordered, would have air conditioners. 2 years ago, and we have still yet
Thank
to
you,
get it.
Mr. Roop. Your time is up.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Brad Hill.
Good evening again. My name is Brad Hill. I live in the Reiner community. Earlier this evening, I was made aware a little bit that there's a little bit of a substitute problem in this county. I'm sure it's a substitute problem in many counties in the state of Virginia. There's an employment problem in the state of Virginia, period. But being a substitute in this county, having been a teacher in this county for many years, having been an SOL tutor and a substitute for a total of over 25 years, I thought it would be appropriate for me to address some of the things that I see and some possible solutions for you all to maybe consider. First of all, there were 4 things that I really came about as far as things to kind of make you aware of. First of all, a school climate. As a substitute, anybody will tell you, if a school climate is not a very good one, and it happens, substitutes are not very willing to go into that school. It's just a fact. Another issue is the days allotted to work. For what I believe, Montgomery County only allows 130 days for a substitute to work. I imagine that's based upon the 29-hour ratio, but that's what I was told is 130 days allotted to work. A third issue could be pay, but I'm not really going to go into that just because everybody knows what you get paid. The next is the vaccine mandate that I'm going to address here in just a little bit. Now, as far as ways to improve and maybe make things better. First of all, we constantly are trying to improve our schools, keeping teachers in the classrooms and stuff like that, making the schools, bettering the schools. We're working on schools in Christiansburg, things like that. I've worked in Eastern Montgomery Shawsville Middle School. I'm sorry, it's not the most uplifting place as far as when you walk in those halls. It's very dark. It's very, if those schools were improved, imagine the students might improve a little bit with their attitudes and stuff like that, feel like they cared about. The next is possibly instead of the 130-day allotment, making full-time substitutes. Asking people, there are counties in this state that do that hire full-time substitutes for localities. Consider that. If you can't do that, then come up with a way where you maybe can get substitutes to work longer. I ran out of my 130 days at the beginning of this month. I haven't been able to work this past month. I've had many people ask me to. I've turned down long-term subs because I can't work anymore this month. The other is, as far as the pay, possibly with the pay, is to do scales. If you work, say, 0 to 10 days, you get a certain amount. If you work 20 to 40 days, you get another. And you kind of, as the longer somebody works, the more somebody works, the more they get paid. That might encourage people to work more and be around longer. Last but not least, I know this vaccine mandate is a big and hot issue, but let me let you think about this. If you really ask substitutes to get if you ask them to get their vaccine, do you really think they're going to work?
Thank you, Mr. Hill. Your time is up.
Thank you.
Thank you. At this point, public address is closed. The next item on our agenda.
Was there anyone else who had signed up?
That's all that we have signed up? Yes. The next item on our agenda is consent items. We have one out-of-state field trip and one grant proposal presented as consent items tonight. Does anyone wish to pull anything from the consent agenda? Hearing and seeing none, the items are considered approved on consent. Next item on the agenda is payment of the bills. Do I have a motion to approve the payment of the bills as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The next item on our agenda is our business meeting. The first item is the grant proposal, the MCPS grant partnerships with Virginia Tech. Each year, MCPS partners with Virginia Tech faculty members on multiple grant applications to federal agencies such as National Science Foundation and the U.S. Department of Education. This agenda item bundles 6 such grant partnerships for our review and approval. I appreciate Mr. Schultz combining these submissions for us. Does anyone wish to make a motion related to the grant proposals?
Motion to approve. Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Let's see, where are we? Oh, that's me next. The Gifted Advisory update. So I wanted to provide you guys an update as to after much work by MCPS administration and legal counsel, I was asked for guidance on supporting the GAC monthly meetings. And as the school board chair has this responsibility via policy 1-3.2, I began attending the online meetings. Ms. Whitaker had noted that the chair tried to change the bylaws at the first meeting immediately after the bylaws had been approved by the board, and were continuing to misinterpret the Virginia Code incorrectly to further a personal agenda. I started attending their meetings in March this year. Each meeting was at least 2 hours. The time was mainly used to educate the chair on current practices and pedagogy for gifted students. The meetings were very condescending for current and former gifted staff. The meetings were very unproductive and poorly attended. During agenda prep in late April, early May, I noted that we needed to add a GAC update to the agenda. When I explained how the meetings were going, Penny said not to sugarcoat my update and that we needed to fire the current chair. This is not something I felt comfortable with, but knew that warnings previously given to the chair had not worked. I asked Penny if she would join me on the call with the chair. On May the 9th, we spoke with the chair and encouraged her to resign given the above documented issue. Penny gave her until June 1st to provide her resignation. Around mid-June, Ms. Whitaker discovered lack of proper support by the administrator of the chair regarding timelines. Therefore, until this was resolved, I held off on reporting this to the board, as we had more urgent items and the GAC had no further meetings and a new executive team would be voted in September. I wanted to wait to update the board so that there would be a positive light on the GAC. The first meeting of the school year occurred on September 9th, and a new executive team is partially in place. They still need to elect a secretary. The new chair ran a very productive first meeting. The current vice chair was the previous chair, once again tried to change the bylaws as well as trying to change the scope of work that was being discussed to meet their own agenda. There was not a majority to either change the bylaws or alter the scope of work beyond what had been agreed upon by the majority. The current chair did a great job of getting agreement by the group, where the former chair tended to overpower the group to further their own agenda. Having listened to this first meeting of the year, I am confident in the current leadership and membership of the GAC. They have learned a lot since March and are coming together as a group to better enhance the gifted program in our schools. I have also had the opportunity to attend the Special Education Advisory Committee. This committee is running smoothly, and I appreciate all of their work to enhance our special education program. Our special education staff should be commended for their great work and their partnership with this committee. The next item on our...
Can we have a discussion on that? That was a lot to
I was
take
just
in.
I was giving you an update. Sure, you can ask questions.
So you brought up you brought up the May 9th meeting, and I think around that time, I'd have to go back and watch the video again. You know, around that time, I think there were some things that were done that weren't right that I pointed out at one of our meetings. I guess I don't understand the purpose of what seems to be a personal takedown of the former chair of this committee, who happens to still be a member of the committee and somebody who I've had conversations with, and someone who, you know, there was a group of parents that I think one by one have resigned from this committee over the past 6 months or I guess not 6 months, over the past, I guess, 18 months, ever since we've kind of been reconfiguring, I guess, the GAC and getting everything right there. But, you know, I think, you know, these parents, we're asking people to serve on our committees. And I just, you know, these people, we all know how much work and sacrifice it takes to serve on the board and serve on this committee. And when we ask parents to come, you know, join and be a part of these other committees to advise us, there's a lot of parents that take it seriously and they sacrifice. And just like any of us, when we started in our role, there's a lot of things you don't know. So of course, not everything's going to necessarily be perfect. But you know, I can't let that report stand. I mean, I think there's things that we've done wrong, that our staff has done wrong. You admitted in your own report that that there was a lack of proper support, and this is the first time that we've put the GAC under, you know, under this official umbrella of being a school board committee. So, you know, I kind of take offense at this, and I hope that it doesn't discourage other parents from getting involved. And I was at the last meeting, and I'll report on that more on my board reports. But I've got a real problem with the personal takedown of parents who we've asked to volunteer on these committees.
Okay, so for my involvement, because it seemed to go round and round with this committee for months. And in our December meeting, I made it very clear that if things weren't going to get done, then we needed to remove folks and put folks in place who were going to do what we needed them to do. In the meeting where you and I met with the chair, I heard a lot of stuff that I hadn't heard before. And I made a public apology to that committee for my comments, because I believe that there were things that were going on. As Mark said, committees are supposed to do the work of advising the board. And if we're not going to listen to folks, then as Mark said, what's the point? We might not always take the advice or the recommendations, but that's what we ask people to be on committees for, not just to rubber stamp what we want things, how we want things to happen. So as far as saying, I said, we need to fire her or get rid of the chair, I made those comments and then I apologized for them, because I believe there was more going on than what was just being reported. I'm glad to see that the committee is up and functioning and doing well, but I just want to make sure this story is straight. You know, I apologize for what my comments were, because I hadn't gotten the full story until I was hearing from both sides.
Our next item on the agenda is the CRSSA funding application. After discussion from our last meeting, the schools have had the chance to share how they would like to spend their CRSSA personal funds. That list is provided to us tonight. We also have a proposal for salary adjustments to assist with the hiring of bus drivers. Mr. Krantz is here to present the overview to us.
Thank you, Ms. Graham. So this slide, you've seen the school request, the process that we've gone through. We updated September. We updated the September to show where we're going to ask for your approval to move forward, if you agree, so that we can begin the process of starting to hire positions as well as begin the process on the CHS project. This is a recap of where we stand. The difference has taken place is on the PPE number under ESSER 2. We've reduced that amount to keep everything balanced at the $13.345 million. If you go down to the bottom, you saw on the proposed uses the ventilation of CHS, which is $10 million. The key there is, and what drives a timing, is that those funds have to be spent on or before June 30th of 2024. It also is a requirement that I have to obtain state approval prior to those funds being used. Even though it's allowed by the process, I have to prove that there's no shadow of a doubt that they will not be spent on or before that date. Number two, you saw the school requested positions, 15 and a half positions, which is $2.49 million. And then you'll see on the last slide what we call the bus driver competitive pay adjustments. That's $135,000 a year. 3 years, it's $405,000. These were the positions that we showed you at the last meeting. There's been no adjustment to this. This is based off of what the schools requested, trying to accomplish one position per 600 students, having the schools say where they had a half-time position and their desire was to go to full-time is where generally schools asked for half-time so that they could create, instead of two schools sharing one person a half and a half, it now would be two schools each with a full-time position in place. This was the secondary side where you see more on the assistant principal side. And then this is the bus drivers. We sat down and looked at what the hourly rates of pay were, focused, and I'm going to focus on Floyd, which is $14.68 with a high of $26.23, Giles at $21.29, Pulaski at $20.09 with a high of $28.73, Radford at $21.64. I'm going to discount Richmond City just because I know it so well. Roanoke County of $16.96 with a high of $27.27, and then Salem of $14.98, $25.32. Right now, like today, I had everybody that could drive a bus with the exception of one employee drove a bus. That's every day that we're running. We right now are looking on Thursday of this week and Friday of this week based off of call-ins we've received that we're going to be short, which will be the first time this school year. We will have to double up on some of our runs, and that will result in longer run times. There's nothing I can do about it. I will have used every person that can physically drive a bus with a CDL license will be operating a bus on Thursday and Friday. And everybody's short, I understand that, but in order to try to get more attraction for drivers, and we have hired two. One will become a regular driver starting if they pass their test tomorrow. Hopefully they do. We think this individual can drive a bus starting next week. Another one will be a week behind that one. We have a third person who is in training. He's got a CDL, so he's got a limit to training, but he's going through the process right now as we speak. So in order to try to be more competitive, we don't offer health insurance unless you go above 30 hours in a work week. Out of 93 drivers, we have 2 that go above the 30-hour limit. They're special education drivers, and they have longer routes than the traditional routes. You see VRS is offered by Floyd, Giles, and Salem. We don't do the VRS. That's been a discussion we've had in my 3 years here during the budget process about bringing VRS for some of our positions. And then you see the sign-on bonus. What we're proposing is to raise our starting pay from $17 an hour to $20 an hour, and then adjusting all of the pay grade that the custodians, that the bus drivers are in, with the lowest percentage increase being 2%. The lowest dollar amount would be 40 cents an hour. We believe that that'll put us in a competitive position to compete with the limited number of drivers out there and help us get the base that we can meet the challenges, which will be worse in the spring than we have in the fall. In the fall, middle school sports are limited. In the spring, we have middle school sports and high school sports. And so the challenges on my drivers will increase dramatically when springtime comes. And this will become more of a challenge for us to ensure that we can bring the students to school on time and bring them home on time. And I ask that you consider this request.
Bonus.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you very much. I can't believe I forgot the most important piece. So we do recommend too a sign-on bonus. You have to, in order to drive a bus, go through CDL training. And the pass rate on the general knowledge is not, it's a difficult exam. It's not just school buses. You got to know all commercial vehicles that are out there. And it's a very strenuous exam. We're asking to do a $1,000 sign-on bonus if you don't have a CDL and you do pass the exam and you do drive a bus for us for 90 days. So you've got to have some skin in the game. There'd be a $1,000 sign-on bonus. If you come in with a CDL, but it's not a school bus endorsement, it would be $1,500 because we'll have less training involved. And then if you have a school bus endorsement, you would get a $2,000 sign-on bonus. The intent is trying to get that initial payment, get people excited to get them into our system, and we believe by having them in our system, as well as the 90-day requirement that you got to work before you get it, we have a good chance to keep the people we recruit.
Why did you choose 90 days? Most places at least kind of do 6 months because we haven't.
90 days for us is basically half a school year.
Okay.
90 days of driving for us, 180-day school year, so 90 days is half a school year.
Okay.
So you're going to have your real skin in the game at that point in time.
So you mentioned percentages just a minute ago. You lost me there.
So the smallest percentage, and I did this while I was traveling last week working with the team here, the smallest percentage was 2%, but on a dollar amount, it was 40 cents an hour.
Okay, to raise everybody up to
Yes,
20.
ma'am. So everybody got an adjustment that, like we've done with the teachers, you kind of compressed it. Kind of the same thing occurred here because the dollars wouldn't be available for everybody. But we get the top, the bottom of the starting pay, let's call it that. We get that to the $20, and then we raised everybody else, but not as much as we did, going from 17 to 20.
So the range is about, I think we're starting right now at 1678. The start will go to 20. And the top of the scale right now is in the $30 range. It's going to be in the $31 range.
Okay.
Now, basically.
Well, I'm just going to say each meeting that I can, I try to speak out for bus drivers because it's hot, it's hard. They deal with parents, they deal with kids. They can't work another job, and kudos to them. So I'm all for it because they deserve it, and they work hard. And I struggled taking my granddaughter's friends along, just a couple people children in the car that I'm responsible for. I can't imagine a whole bus that I know. I've got to drive all over town and all over the county and deal with crazy drivers and crazy people and get those kids safely where they're going. And then get home and they're 10 minutes late and the parents on there fussing at them. So kudos to them, and they deserve it.
I'm going to echo Ms. Bond on that. I commend our bus drivers. I try to thank them every chance I get. I know a lot of them. I know they work hard. I know that with this job, it is a very different time frame as far as hours, which means they really can't do anything else as far as part-time to kind of make up that. So thank you, Dr. Meyer. Thank you, Mr. Krantz, and the administration for bringing this to the forefront. It's something that I feel like definitely needed to be done. So thank you so much. I'm sure it will be appreciated, and these guys just deserve so much more than what we can give them. I wish we could give them what we offer every employee. They work really hard, and they are just as important as every other employee that we have, and they carry our most precious cargo, our children. And just kudos to all of you, and thank you so much for all you do, and thank you for sticking with us. We sure do appreciate you.
we have absolutely incredible bus drivers. They do amazing things, and they've really stepped up to the plate the last 2 years, no doubt, and helping us and doing so many things beyond what they normally do. And so, and they're true professionals, and what they do, I mean, it's a skilled job. It really, really is. And so, moving forward here, what we're going to do is we're going to advertise this very greatly. Between signs and billboards. I kidded a couple of superintendents. There might see some billboards in Giles, Pulaski, and Radford. And so, but we're going to, do the best we can to recruit more, because it's putting a hardship on our bus drivers now, because they're having to combine routes and do more routes than what they normally would do. And that's. I know that's real tough on them as well, and we're missing out on some opportunities as well. Mr. Kranz talked about too. Spring sports is the busiest time because we have so many teams that need to travel, and that's a really big deal. So we've got to really get this problem solved, and hopefully the rising compensation will do that somewhat. So.
Question two: the gentleman that spoke talked about air conditioning. That's something I spoke about last meeting. About a concern. I know we can't fix everything. I know we don't always have the money to put in and do, but how can we address that? Because that is a concern for me as well.
I'm sorry that was heard out there. We've never talked. We talked about putting air conditioners in all of our sped buses. Any sped buses we buy right now, we put air conditioning in
Every
those buses.
sped bus right now has air conditioning.
Right. And I asked this past week how much it would cost, and I think the retrofit, they're between $12,000 and $15,000.
That is correct.
For each bus.
Yes,
is that
sir.
right?
Yes, sir.
To actually add air condition. And of course, in recent years, it's a little different than it used to be in the past, because we start so early too, and it's the hotter time of the year. So they definitely can get hot. That's
is that an option? Is that something we can look to put in our budget? Is that something that we can use with the CARES Act money? Is there anything like that we can dip into to make that happen?
Something we'll have to
I
look
understand
at.
we're going into a cooler season now, but so we'll be prepared for the upcoming season. We don't.
I mean,
Still going to be hot next year.
What is the difference in cost of a bus if we buy one new with air conditioning versus without?
additional $15,000.
Oh, it is,
to the
regardless, whether we're retrofitting or.
Retrofit the fleet is $1.6 million.
Okay, so are you saying it's 15,000 a bus? Or
Yes.
is it
Correct.
15? Okay.
So the retrofit would be
Even if we
one.
took 2 or 3 buses at a time to do, just like, are we still purchasing 8 buses a year? Mm-hmm. Okay, so.
Purchasing 8.
and I know-
It becomes I agree with you. And in Richmond, we went all air conditioned. The challenge is the limited dollars. Right
understand.
now with, a situation, I've got a special education child, we're having to build a restroom. It's $65,000.
Right.
So
I
we can be in
understand.
compliance with the federal statutes. It becomes the battle that's taking place with the limited dollars that are there. I'm all for air conditioning because I think they should. I've ridden the midday buses and was there every day. So I saw it and I'd have my coat on, just content as could be. But there's limited funds that make it very difficult. I know Dr. Meyer would love for us to have every bus air conditioned. He's told me that. I've been here almost 4 years now. He's told me that, I think, since the first day I've been here. and I'd love to do it. It's just how do you find the funds to do it?
Gotcha.
Well, I think bang for the buck too. We live, and I'm not trying to take away from, I know it can get hot, especially in August and September around here, but we do live in a climate that is more on the colder side, right? And we're talking about spending that kind of money to make things more comfortable for about a month out of the whole school year.
Would we think that about schools?
What's
for
that?
teachers and students?
I think that's a different, I think it's a little bit different when you're talking about the actual learning environment.
Oh, okay.
But I'm saying the same thing that Tommy's saying. I'm just saying, where do we want to put, it's the trade-offs. Where do you want to put that money?
Okay.
Now I do wonder if, surely we use buses in, when we have summer school and things like, there are some buses that do get used, I think, throughout the summer. And I do wonder if it makes sense to have a certain number of buses maybe retrofitted or ordered with air conditioning. Those can then be used for our summer school routes. And then I guess then you've got them. You can also use them for, rotate them through some of the other routes as well.
How many buses do we use for the summer program?
We used 32 this summer.
So that's about a third of our fleet that we used for the summer. And we have, because, we have a pretty robust summer program now, a lot of kids there and that kind of thing. And so, I definitely see it as something as we're purchasing, as we're moving forward. And then seeing it where, you're talking about that money. I don't know where that money is right now, but we got to we have to sort of figure that out too. And then, and see where we can get that money to do that if it's the wish of the board to actually make that happen. So we will definitely look. And I don't know if that's something that CARES funding, would that qualify?
I don't think it does. I think I'd have to do much more, but in my
Don't
initial
have
reaction
kids
is
on
that may be
buses
a
and bus
stretch.
drivers, you can't get them here to educate them.
Well, as we heard from Mr. Root tonight, and as we've talked about many times, and I know I have because I've been fighting with the bus drivers for years to make sure they start learning from the time they step on that bus.
Exactly right.
To the time they step off that bus. And I've spoken with a lot of bus drivers, and I know a lot of bus drivers also. And they are just as important as everybody else in this district. And I don't know about you, but sitting on a bus that's over 100 degrees, that can take a whole lot out of you. And whether it's in the afternoon or at midday, then having a child being ready to do anything else because our routes are longer, because we're having to double up on stuff. Listening to them talk about how their clothes are soaking wet by the time they finish their routes and having to just sit and regain themselves and hydrate so that they can go on with the rest of their evenings too. Yeah, our bus drivers, deserve every bit that we can get them, and along with all of our other employees. And unfortunately, it's taken this situation for us to adjust our pay to where it should have been anyway. So we need to maybe think about what we're doing with our support folks, with our budget all along, so that we don't end up in these situations. So we're in a better situation to start off with. So yeah, long overdue, unfortunate why it has to happen, but it should have happened a long time ago.
I'd also like to point out regarding to another issue that it kind of addresses what Ms. Franklin is pointing out to. I know she was addressing more the kids, but I would say the drivers themselves in that heat.
That's what I was talking about. The drivers.
Yeah, okay, also. So most of our drivers are older, of course, and of course the heat. I can see some health issues. I can see a lot of things happening and would hate for something to happen while they were driving the bus loaded with kids. So I think the talk of the money, I can see it, but I think that's something that we need to discuss further and really see what we can do to try to get that accomplished.
Okay.
And we'll definitely look at it. And this, as we're starting to discuss budget coming up in the next couple of months or so, that's something that we definitely would include in the requested budget if the board would like.
Tommy, help me understand here.
Mm-hmm.
Is it so? I mean, certainly, if you're dealing with a month's worth of interior temperatures at 100 degrees, the calculus completely changes, right? But can you help me understand here the conditions that we're talking about, where we're seeing 100-degree plus temperatures in a bus?
You're typically seeing it though 4 months out of the year, being April, May, and in August and September. You've got 4 months. Then when you add the summer school component, obviously that's one of the hottest windows. The other thing where it does become an issue is when we do the athletic component. Our buses, we don't have a lot of short runs. A lot of our runs are longer. And because of that, our typical load, like in an elementary school, we're putting 50 to 55 students on a bus. Some of our buses, I'm running 70 to 72 students with a capacity limit of 77. Secondary students, I'm running about 35 to 40 students on average on a bus.
No, I guess I'm talking about temperatures.
But your temperatures, you got 4 months plus your summer, and then the evening activities that we do during those months. So it's not just
But with I don't know what an average high is, between August and September here. I'm not talking about the summer, because for summer I'm in agreement on. I think that would be the first place we would probably invest any money we found to do something like that. But I mean, with the windows down on a bus,
You get some relaxation, but the issue you have.
are we
with-
seeing a
which-
20 degree
Growing up in New
differential?
Orleans with 100% humidity most days, when you've got it hot outside, all that air you're blowing in is hot. It works for the virus because you're moving, you're moving the virus out of the bus. But as far as cooling you off, hot air is not going to cool you off. I mean, it'll help dry out your sweat, but it's still not going to make you comfortable.
No, I realize all that, but I
know.
I rode a
but-
bus as a kid. It wasn't air conditioned. I had a very long route, actually.
Yeah, but you didn't have to wear a mask with it too. That makes a
Granted,
difference.
I agree. I
Back then.
yeah, I understand that the masks add a whole nother layer, but
I'll
I
just
think
say it does
by
get
the
uncomfortable.
time,
Buses get uncomfortable when it's hot.
Because some of our buses are equipped with thermostats, so it's there on the bus. The drivers are reading 120 degrees and more on the buses. It's a big metal box
yeah.
with the sun beating on it.
Okay.
Okay.
Does anyone wish to make a motion regarding the proposed positions and
Motion
salary
approved.
adjustments? Okay.
Second.
Any discussion?
One more thing I want to bring up, I think it's become even more of an issue for me as we keep going down this year and things keep changing. I brought this up last time and I think I just wanted clarification on this. We're going to pay for the CHS new ventilation one way or another, right? I'm not worried about whether or not that building's going to get its new ventilation or not. So I don't want this to become an issue over CHS. I think it's just an accounting thing. But should we get in a situation where we need another $500,000 that was unforeseen, or another $1 million, or even $5 million that was unforeseen to deal with COVID issues that may come up this year, I think what you said last time is we can always come back and revise this
Right.
and move that money around if it's needed, right?
Correct.
Okay.
As well as you could look at, for example, up there, the PPE number, that's a projection of what, of using all the funds within their time frame.
Yeah.
You also have the 2.5 cent real estate tax funds that we get that we've allocated primarily for the bus garage, as well as completing CES, CPS, and BES. So there's multiple places that if there's a need, Dr. Meyer says, hey, I need X need, I think I could find the funding to do that, as well as these budgets can be amended. Now, the biggest one on there, though, is if you proceed with the positions, I think there's a commitment there that you can't reverse.
Oh yeah, I am for the positions. I am for the increases that we're talking about.
Okay.
My concern is that let's say we come back, literally we could come back in a month, right, and say, oh, we need a bunch more positions because of this or this that was unforeseen, right? I hope we don't end up there,
Right.
but at this point,
Right.
I'm trying to play it more conservative because every time we think we're out of the woods, every time we think, right? I understand that money has to be spent by summer of 2024,
Correct.
right? So I don't mind using that, basically to make sure that we get all of that money. But all I'm saying is, I'm looking at that 10 million. I mean, we're not going to be ordering those units and installing them in the next 6 months,
No, sir,
right? So that's something that we can go back to if we need more money and say, okay, we need more money. We're going to use it now, and we're going to allocate 9 million or 9.5 million or 9.575 million or whatever is left. We're going to continue to allocate
Well,
to that, right? That gives us flexibility. That's what I heard last time. I think that
we
talked
could,
about this,
but
right?
I don't know if that's the best way to handle that situation because we're going to get a price on CHS and what it's going to cost, and we're basically committing right now $10 million
Yeah.
to that project. And then, of course, we'll be hearing hopefully soon. Of course, we meet with the board of supervisors on October 19th. And so we'll be hearing a number from them. And with the expectation that 10 million of our money will be used. If we start taking that money in the middle of a project, we might have to start cutting things that we do to CHS right in the middle of the project. Does that make sense?
I mean, yes, it makes sense, and I understand that. But if we need, if we need that money for something else that we decide we need it for to combat COVID or employment issues this year, right? If we just in the last 2 weeks, we came up with $400,000, like, oh, we need $400,000 to fix this bus driver problem. If we have a substitute teacher problem that needs another $500,000, and we might get there in 2 weeks or 3 weeks, we have left ourselves at first I thought that this 10 million was kind of a catch-all. But if that's the case, what I'd rather see us do is come up with a smaller number for the ventilation, whether it's 8 or 9 million, because in the grand scheme of things, this is not, we're talking about somewhere between 70 and $125 million project, right? So I think that we should.
Looking at 110. It's 110 million.
Well, that's what we're being told now, but I don't know where the final land, right? I mean, there's going to be
It's not
some
gonna be
leeway,
anywhere
but it's
near
a $100 million project. Is it fair to say that?
Right now, it's 110 is what we.
$110 million project, right? So what I'm saying is I think it would be wise for us to allot some kind of, I think we should set aside some of that ESSER money or tap some of that ESSER money for COVID-related issues that are unforeseen, like the one that we just had this last 2 weeks, as $500,000, so that we can deal with those in the future.
Tommy, wouldn't you say that the PPE is the area that we would look at doing that with?
That'd be the first place.
I mean, I really don't think we're going to be using $3 million in PPE at this point.
Yeah, I think that's what you explained the last time.
I think that's the area that can be, played with, over the next 3 years.
On that schedule, I probably could find 1.2 million pretty easily.
Yeah. So
I'm saying to the
at the end of
board,
the day,
what I'd like to see us. I mean, I really think that we should set aside at least $1 million and have another $1 million cushion. Now, if we end up not needing that money, then that's fine. That's money that can go back to right back into that. Whether it's PPE or ventilation, we can put it back in there then.
Right. So taking it from PPE, I think is easy. Taking it from CHS is a little more difficult because
explain that one to me. I'm confused.
Because when we're and Tommy can probably explain it better. When we're making a commitment to pay for the school in the next few months, whatever. Say it comes back at $110 million, okay, and we've signed off on this project and it's $110 million, and the board of supervisors has given us 100, and then we've got that 10 in there. We're going to have to commit to the project.
But I guess what I'm saying is,
point, right, Tommy? Could you explain that?
Yeah, and Mark, where it's critical is that if we're going to make it by June of 2024, we have to be moving toward construction docks.
Sure. And
we need to be starting that literally October 20th. If we don't, I'm not going to make it to 24. And right now, it appears it's a $110 million project. I don't know where the county's going to come up with their funding number yet, but if they come in, say, at 80 million, I'm just picking a number, I'm hoping they come in at 100 million. Well, you got a project. If they come in at 90 million to 95 million and we got the 10, you probably still have a project. But if they start getting into 80, it's going to make that, I'll never get that project done by 2024. Mm-hmm. I don't care what I do.
I mean, I hear you, but I don't think that's the point I'm making. The point I'm making is, I mean, what you're talking about, it's a $110 million project, right? We need $110 million. We've got room in this ESSER budget where we're able to chip away a certain amount of that. We've chosen to chip away 10, where you've chosen to chip away 10 million of it. What I'm saying is, why don't we chip away 8 million of it, ask the Board of Supervisors for 102 million? Because we've still got $2 million, I think. I'd like to see us with at least 2 million of wiggle room on COVID-related stuff. I mean, just like that in 2 weeks, $500,000. I mean, what if we find ourselves in a position in a couple of weeks with substitute teachers where we got to do something similar? Well, we got or aides. We really need to do the VR. Whether it's healthcare or full time or things like that. I mean, any one of those things can easily just be $500,000. If we have people quitting, if we decide we want to do a bonus like we did last year, which is something that we even talked about doing another round of it. So I don't think that this is. I don't know. I think you guys are kind of painting this as Well, we're taking money away from CHS. We're not taking money away from CHS. That's a separate thing. We're talking about basically how to pay for things, right? And what I'm saying is that we have needs here that if we're not careful about how we plan, we're not going to be able to pay for. We're going to limit the options that we have available to us.
But by the same token, the other side of that argument is that if I don't see the Board of Supervisors coming in at 110 million, I just don't do it. And that's based off of my conversations with their administration. So that if we get into a contest on October 20th of what's the dollar amounts, if it goes on too long, I won't make the 24th, which means I won't be able to get the state's approval to use whatever the dollar amount's going to be. It's irrelevant. And if I'm not careful, the $1.954 million that's new from the governor, I've got to match dollar for dollar. I don't get those funds. We don't get those funds. So I hear what you're saying in my response, and I think you're right. Don't get me wrong. I'm as conservative as anybody can be. But I think if you look at what we've got on that schedule, I think there's lines items I can go there if there was a need, and I could reallocate and fund your need. Now, if you came up and said it's $20 million, no, I'll struggle. But if you tell me, Tommy, I need another $1 million to $2 million, I think I could find it, either on that schedule right there, which I think I could, or within our existing budget. You look at what we do every year end. You look at what I've got sitting in what we have in our 2.5 cent capital account. We've got funding sources available to us. I would ask that we leave the ventilation at CHS right now. I've got a target. I can't guarantee I'm going to get that done by 2024. It's tight. It's tight. Supply chain's changing every day. You know, it's CES and
You have to have it installed, or you just have to buy the equipment?
have to have it actually spent and installed. I mean, on CES and CPS, we were supposed to have generators 8 weeks ago. We just learned I won't see those generators until February of 2022 at the earliest. And so I would ask and highly recommend that we leave the CHS alone, but Mr. Chewbacca, I believe whatever you throw at me, I could find the dollars. I really do. And I think you're right. And I always keep cushions with inside budgets.
Okay. All right.
Unless we were sitting on June 20th and I had June 30th year end. Short of that, I'm going to be very, very conservative. And I do that to make sure, Dr. Meyer, you as a board have the funds necessary to do what you're asking. And I can tell you we'll do that again this year.
Well, and if you
I want
start,
to say something about the bonuses and that second round. Well, that second round was supposed to be to finish out that 2,000 that was mentioned to start off with, that the board said, no, we need to wait, see where we're at, right? And then it didn't happen. You know, I didn't agree with that at all. So, you know, to throw that back out there once the board said, no, let's wait, and then say, well, we talked about it. Yeah, you talked about it, and then it just went away. Is it right that we try to dip in? You know, and folks will say, yeah, because I've heard it and read it. More concerned about building Christiansburg High School. Well, I'm going to tell you, I am very concerned about Christiansburg High School.
that's right.
It has been on the waiting list for years. Building after building after building. Economic collapse, all kinds of things have come in front of Christiansburg. And now Christiansburg needs to get what we deserve. And
I don't think there's an argument about that.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
I said I don't think there's an argument about
Well, yeah,
that
when you're
happening.
talking about we need to wait and take some of this away from, you know, what's going to happen at Christiansburg and wait to see what happens. Yeah, we're going to have lots of needs. And as Tommy said, we're going to figure it out. It's not going to always make everybody happy, but, you know, unfortunately, that's the way of the world, because I'm not made happy all the time. I wish I were. But we're going to get through this. And this thing, this COVID thing, across the whole world, it is changing day by day, week by week. And we're sitting here doing the exact same things that folks are doing all across the country. Try to keep schools open, because that's what folks said we have to do. And I believe, yes, we went through a whole year, and I was like, yep, that was the right thing to do. I didn't even believe we needed to open up at the end of it the way we did. But now we have got to keep kids in school because trying to reverse things and take things back out, it's not just like flipping a switch or 3 or 4 switches. It will be horrendous for everyone involved. Parents, teachers, administrators, bus drivers, everybody, to try to flip things back around. So trying to keep the buildings open, we're gonna figure it out. We will. And however it happens, I know Mr. Meadows told us that he had a CDL, right, license, and he could drive a school bus.
He did say
Meet him
that.
on Friday, call him.
He did say that.
Let him know.
I
it's all-
witnessed it.
all hands on deck.
Okay, does anyone else have any other
I'm not
discussion?
finished.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But taking something away from Christiansburg again, because my fear was, oh Lord, here we go again. Christiansburg is going to get pushed back and pushed back. Well, that building is close to 50 years old, and this community has grown unbelievably. And hearing it from students talk about going into the other high schools and going, just the fact they have windows, not to mention
Two
everything
gyms.
else, is heartbreaking. And I'm tired of listening to it.
I think I have to respond to that. To me, that's a red herring argument. No one is arguing. This stuff comes up. We're talking about how to allocate money and pay for things, right? And I don't think, if we allocated, if we needed, let's say we're going to need $2 million unforeseen expenses.
Okay.
If we allocate $2 million here and do $8 million for ventilation, and then by the end of the year, or 6 months from now, or 3 months from now, or whatever, we decide, oh, you know what, we've got an extra. You said you could find $2 million. We got $2 million out of PPE and out of something else. That $2 million goes right back into ventilation. We're right back to square one, are we not?
But what if I found the $2 million right now, and I'd left the ventilation alone?
I don't see how you can commit to the ventilation if you don't have the full amount.
Well, that's why I'm saying leave the ventilation alone.
Well, and something could come down the road that you can't put it back. Then you're going to have to chip away from something else. No, wait a minute. This whole board needs to be committed that Christiansburg High School the funding doesn't get touched.
And
that is most all.
Well-
That's what, when we started this, everybody was committed.
We are committed. I am still
But there can't be,
committed.
oh, well, we need to pick away here, we need to chip away there, and we need to, oh, well, do we really need to do that much? Or, well, do we really? I mean, when the figure came out, I kind of saw some of the faces, and I thought, oh, great, here we go. But we committed.
We committed to doing a project.
promise.
We committed to doing a project, and we can have those discussions, and we're going to have those discussions, right?
But
we
not
had to
chipping
have
away
them.
discussions I'm not going to have.
I mean, it is not about chipping away. It's about how to pay for the things that you need to, allocated from the right funding.
Okay, we'll find
when
another
when it comes to capital funding, we have what's our, is it 2.5 cents, 2 cents?
2.5 cents, it's 2.2 million.
So that's another area where that money can come from. But if you need, to bump up pay or pay bonuses to aides or to substitutes because of our current COVID situation, that money needs to come from this ESSER stuff. That's what I'm talking about. This does not need to turn into a conversation about, are we taking things away from Christiansburg High School? That's where that's what kind of, it annoys me that accusations even being made when I am talking about basically how we pay for these different things. What I'm saying is whatever we decide to pay, whatever we decide in the end and vote on, all right? And we can have that discussion too about how much money. I mean, you can't just say, we're going to build this high school, it's going to be $200 million, it's going to be $115 million or whatever. And we need to look at what we're going to get. And yes, we are going to need to figure out what things need to be in it and what things, depending on how numbers come back, if there's anything that needs to be changed. I don't know that yet. Right? But we need to, and it's fine to have those discussions, but that's not the discussion I'm having right now. What I'm saying is whatever that number is, and I'm using 110 because that's what you guys presented to us last time, right? That 110 is going to come. The question is where are going to be the funding requests and what other needs are we going to have? That's the issue that I'm talking about.
But
But-
that's, to me, that's what annoys me, is you keep saying the 110 is going to come, but what I'm saying and what they're saying is that may not get to that point. So this 10 million being set aside is your savings account for this, okay? So that way you're only borrowing this. Just like when you buy yourself a new car and your down payment, well, if you chip away from that to put carpet in your house and to this, then you don't have your down payment for your car. Okay, the same thing with this.
I understand
If you
that, Jenny.
Okay, but still, every time somebody brings something up to chip away or to use and put back, that sometimes it's not going to get put back, that annoys me because I don't think that's fair. We didn't chip away, we didn't take away from any of the other schools. So leave it alone. Find the money somewhere else. Don't even talk about chipping away that money or using it and paying it back, because sometimes what's going to happen if you can't find that money? Then it's gone. Then we don't get the money from the Board of Supervisors. We only get 98 million.
And that's a different problem, right? That is a completely different problem
But
than
it's
what
not
I'm
a
talking
problem
about.
that would have to be tended to if you leave it alone.
That's true, except that what I am talking about, I'm not just taking money away for the fun of it. I'm talking
You're
about
saying just borrow in it and put
no,
it back.
it's not a borrowing thing because I think what's happening here. I mean, let's talk about this. This is this. What we're really doing is we're borrowing $10 million from our COVID funds to help pay for Christiansburg High School, which is a creative
Christiansburg High
thing.
School has to have the proper ventilation, just like all of our other new buildings.
Yes, absolutely.
That's what we're investing this money
Yes,
in.
We're not borrowing.
for
We're
the
allocating.
purposes of this financial discussion, right? That's all what I'm saying. But to get back to your point, though, Jamie, my concern, here's what my concern is that we were going to find ourselves in a position where we can't run the schools properly this year. Okay? And that's what I'm concerned. I would hope everybody would be concerned about that. Now, I hear Tommy saying that if it's $2 million, I can come up with the money. I think that is enough for me to, and I trust Tommy, I think it's enough for me to move forward on that. But it is something that I'm still nonetheless concerned about, and I hate having to dig around, being put in a position down the road where I might have to dig around for that. And if it's more than $2 million, then we really have to get creative and find those funds elsewhere. But that's fine. I think I'll take what you said at
Yes, sir.
face value. and
We've
we'll
been
move
digging
on.
around for funds as long as I've been on this board.
I'm sure.
Okay, so that's the way it works with public education. I don't know very many districts across this country who don't go through the same situations, digging and scraping, trying to find the funds because the state and the feds don't fund public education the way they should.
Absolutely.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
part of that is capital projects.
Yeah.
And that's why we have buildings who are 50, 60 years old that need to be replaced. And because years ago, for over 25 years, there was no new construction in this district. So trying to play catch up over the years,
Yeah.
now it's Christiansburg's turn to catch up.
Okay, I think we're ready for a roll call.
Ms. Bond?
Yes.
Mr. Chewbacca?
Yes.
Ms. Franklin?
Yes.
Ms. Karan?
Yes.
Ms. Parton?
Yes.
Ms. Graham?
Yes,
Motion carries.
thank you. If the board is okay with it, I'd like to take about a 10-minute break before we head into the next parts of our agenda.
was last week. Uh-huh. Right. Right. Uh-oh. Everything did.
Order after order.
Uh-oh.
And those things were anywhere 65 pounds, 15 pounds. So you're lifting and bad.
And at our age, it doesn't come to stay like we used to. I understand. I understand what you're saying.
Hey, did you see my,
Yeah, I did. I said too.
I need an air brake endorsement.
I know where I go. First off, I cut the PPs by having it.
Yeah.
Okay. Number two, then what I do is I'm the crumble into 2 minutes.
Yeah.
So we go to 7.
That explains why Jack would always.
So I just changed it to max. Increase the size. Oh, I don't mess it up.
We can only do the best that we can do.
Yeah, it was great.
Everybody can hear it.
Thank
They're
you.
doing really well.
It's cheap.
Hey, it's free.
Can't get any cheaper than that, can you? Unless I paid you to do it.
I'm glad you did that. You can figure it out eventually. It's probably just not we can go. And you do mention it every time, but I just want to make sure it's my fault. It's my fault.
I mean, I don't hear this.
Yeah.
It's okay.
And that we have to pay. I know. We need to go sit down. But I took the other ones, they got really, it's the same. Just this what they
Things I think.
Absolutely.
I just came back from Charlottesville today, actually.
Work related?
Yeah, yeah. Work's been crazy with travel.
What? Has it been a good trial?
Yeah,
Good,
I mean, no, it's just
good
fine.
busy?
Whatever, it's just work. You know, sometimes I have to go to the lab and get my hands on it. But I think I'm good for a few weeks now. So
Okay.
maybe we'll come in and have a little chat. That might be good.
Okay, that would be good.
All right, I'm gonna walk around a little bit.
All right.
We leave on Monday.
Oh my.
Traveling with young kids.
It does out of place.
It does. And well, Lily has cochlear implants. So that's a whole other level, right? It's like she's gonna set off a metal detector and obviously we've been working on that and getting all the right things we need for her and yeah. And you know, we moved it because Harper broke her arm. We got pins and surgery. That's all done. I can go find you
All the details.
and then it just was trying to check flight stuff. It's like your passwords are. I'm like, no, it's not. Well, they changed the password guidelines. Heaven forbid, right? And so, it's okay.
It is crazy. I mean, all I can say is traveling is actually not as fun as it used to be.
Doug, did you see my meeting in the agenda? You were gone already, but
I just saw it when because I took a
it was
copy.
totally me.
So we put a link in there, you'll have to watch it. He found funny. Windows 11.
Give me some feedback. How did I run my meeting tonight?
Hey, doing all right. I see all your good figs on the.
Lynn's wife posted on Aaron's thing saying like, "Oh, are they giving out to other people?" I was like, "Oh," and I texted Lynn. I was like, tonight. I was thinking of some, and I even thought I should grab some anyway. And then I had to take my dog. Already late.
Yeah, well, so it's okay. I'm just like, when I saw Aaron put it, I was like, oh, drooling.
Come by. Come by. I have tons. Come by.
I
You know where
bet.
live, right?
Yeah, of
Come by
course.
sometime.
Yeah.
Seriously.
I will be
right off the tree.
tiptoeing.
Yeah.
I will not climb the tree.
Well, no. I mean, it's
I'm
kind
just.
of just a big bush right now. So
Yeah, that's good. I don't think I ever, well, no, I shouldn't say ever, but in the last, God knows how many years, ever had a fresh fig, you know.
my goodness.
I mean, I ate
You know,
the dry figs, but not fresh
I grow
figs.
them, and sometimes Trader
That's it, yeah.
so
Gotta find a place for now. No, this like the picture looked like how I remember. So, it was like
this week. They're going gangbusters this week.
okay,
It's
well,
gonna drop off quickly
okay.
at some point.
So
I don't
this
know.
is the time to stop by. I'll do that.
Come get a few.
Sure.
All right.
How you doing, Mark?
Holy cow, Gannon. We can certainly beat a dead horse, can't we?
Yep. And I'm just like trying to figure out these scientific things sent to us that is actually vaccination is no good.
Oh. I'm not gonna read it.
In like the 80s when I was
You know, here's the thing. With the internet, you can find
All sorts
whatever
of
you
things.
want to
This
answer.
is like all about like a study in Brazil.
You can find whatever you want to match what you're looking for,
I know.
whether you like it or not.
I'm just like curious about. So Sue wasn't going to attend today?
No.
Well, she asked for those things on the agenda.
Okay, they're not on there.
I mean, yeah.
By default, they're not on there because
Yeah.
we don't need them to be.
I brought a banana.
Good thing. You're gonna need that.
I don't know where Brenda went, but I still
do need
feel
to ask
terrible
about
about her going.
I don't want to wear masks.
PMC, what is PMC?
What are you doing? I asked for. I got a banana.
There is a cookie.
How's your daughter doing at Tech?
Good.
Good.
I
Is this her second?
Senior year.
Is that?
Senior year.
She's been there.
Oh, this is her first year at Tech.
Oh, okay. That's
She's
what
been.
I thought. I thought it was
She's
like-
she went 2 years to the ACE program for New River. Then she was at home a year, junior at Tech, but she couldn't go on campus
because
because COVID. This is her first year she's been on campus. I said, you're a senior at Tech and you've never been on campus before, other than a game.
Like 2 or 3 times now.
She get the
now
game
We always go, but she likes it. She has Joey Showalter this year. Joey Showalter. And she loves his class. She thinks it's
Can we have everybody return to their seats, please? Our next item on the agenda is policy 5-2.6, substitutes. Dr. Meyer sent a thorough email regarding this concern. I know board members have brought up the need to have additional substitutes repeatedly. The policy adjustment adjusts the educational requirement for a substitute teacher to be a high school diploma. This is in line with state statutes regarding substitute teachers. In order to begin recruiting as soon as possible, we have asked to waive the first reading of this policy adjustment and approve this policy as presented. Does anyone want to make a motion regarding the policy updates?
I'll move that we approve policy 5-2.6.
Second?
Okay,
Any discussion?
yeah.
Go ahead.
So I just have a small concern and a question. I'm gonna ask the question first. So, how many applicants have we seen with high school diplomas that want to work for the school system? I know we changed this a few years back. How many applicants have we seen who we've had to turn away?
Yeah, let me say this too. Danny answered that question. That's fine. I guess my question too is with that, do people not apply knowing they don't?
When we post the requirements, so we haven't seen any applicants with just a high school diploma for this position because the posting says the 60 hours.
Right, I understand that, but we changed that several years ago to that requirement. So I was just wondering if, just by chance, people were asking. So my other concern, thank you, Danny. My other concern is 21 years at the middle and high school, especially the high school.
Yeah, that's not a change. That's in current policy.
Right. Because we don't get many, well, I guess we can. But that's just a very, very small margin in age. How many 21-year-olds do we get? Because I remember we had a couple of problems with interaction between students and subs.
I can't give you an exact number right now. I can get that for you if you would like me to. But we do get quite a few 21-year-olds, especially college students.
Right, yeah.
So I don't even want to guess a percentage, but we do have quite a few.
And I would say, too, we have many teachers who start teaching at 21 because that's the age they graduate college.
Yeah.
I thought that was 22, 23.
No, bachelor's is typically 21.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any other?
I just had a question on the pay, because do we have aides or anything like that that will be making less than a substitute at the same high school? Do you see where I'm coming from with that? Because I think then that could cause another issue. Okay, all the aides are going to become, so well, shoot, I can be a substitute if our aides aren't making, then I think we.
Well, what you got to realize
as to how
is.
They have a limit as to how many
Right,
days they can work.
Right, so that's where.
Whereas an aide
gotcha.
can work every day,
That's-
and they get, most all of our aides get benefits.
Okay.
Yeah, they get medical and
I
VRS.
knew we
now.
changed that a little bit, but okay,
Yeah.
gotcha.
Yeah, they get medical and VRS, and definitely something that to look at in the future. In this future budget, we would really love to look at aid pay.
Yeah.
Because it is
Low.
it's really not.
And I agree with that 100%. That's
Yeah.
another reason why I brought it up, because
Yeah.
they work hard.
Yeah,
I know
Absolutely,
they
it's a
do.
job that's not desirable by many, and
No, it is not.
and it is a really hard job, and it's something that we really need to look at increasing that starting pay for
Okay.
aides to something
Absolutely.
more of a livable wage too. So we're having some discussions as to what we can do, to beyond what we're proposing tonight, especially for aides, because that's a big issue. Now, of course, this right here, we have to cover our classrooms first.
I understand.
We have a lot of aide subs who are now qualified to be a teacher sub.
Okay.
Because of this, which will help. But of course, that creates an issue with some aides as well. But we got to get our classrooms covered first. And but we haven't stopped with brainstorming. We're having a meeting here pretty soon. We're going to look at even what are some things we can do. We're going to have a conversation that I'll share with you is would paying people twice a month as opposed to monthly be something that would help.
That would help.
I think that's for a lot of our employees. I think that would help them with their
I do
at-home
too.
finances.
I do too.
But
So-
of course, to do that, we have to we would have to possibly hire more folks in our finance department too. So there's some reasons why. So we got a lot of things we're looking at, but this is a big one right here, the substitutes. And
Right. So for our substitutes that are permanent at an elementary school that have chosen to do that, how do we handle that 160 days?
so it's 150 days. Danny and I were
150
just
days,
talking
sorry.
about that. And one thing so we've hired, I don't know how many permanent subs, but they are under the same criteria of 150 days.
Right.
And I honestly, thanks for bringing it. He left, but it's sort of making us think about that. All we'd have to do is add benefits to those individuals. Who are those permanent subs?
At our every elementary school.
Well, they're in Strands.
We're working to get them at every single school. We
Okay.
have them at almost every single school. Some
Oh,
schools
okay.
that have had trouble with substitutes this year, we put more permanent subs there.
Okay.
Just to try to cover those schools.
But there's still a limited number of days they can up, so that's going to hurt us. So Dominic, you want to talk any
Dominic
about this?
just said we've got them at every school now.
Oh, good, good. I thought we did.
So we've got permanent subs at every school. They can work 150 days.
Right.
And in some schools right now, quite honestly, we've got more than one permanent sub just to help out.
Right. So the question is just what you said. What can we do to, be able to make them permanent?
Yeah, to make them permanent full-time subs, we would just simply have to add benefits.
Right.
For each employee. What's it cost to add an employee benefit at that level? Any idea, Tommy, Andy, Danny? A substitute. So they were giving them a daily rate, so they get 110 a day. Do that math real quick there, Tommy.
15 an hour, isn't it?
110 a day for seven.
Yeah, they go by the day.
Yeah.
7.5 hours.
So what's the total for 180 days if they were to be with us 180 days is a question, right? Instead of the 150. I do this to Tommy all day long.
So I'm all about giving all of our employees benefits, but then how does that feel if I'm an aide or someone who doesn't have benefits and has been working for the district for years and years and years, committed?
They do have aides.
But aides
I
do
know,
have
but
benefits.
I said, or other employees who don't.
Every full-time employee has benefits.
That's based on the hours worked.
Yeah.
So if they work X number of hours, they do get. Now VRS is
Right.
categorized differently, but the medical benefits.
We're talking about medical benefits.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm talking about all the benefits because VRS is a benefit. Because I've been saying this for years, we need to increase the pay. I have not voted on budgets because there weren't increases for support staff, our custodians, and then we have to go back mid-year because we can't get folks and, add more. Our bus drivers, nurses to make sure they're gonna stay with us because everybody's needed. And we just need to be looking at the compensation package, period, for all of our employees so that we're not playing catch-up when a crisis hits to the degree that we're having to do it now.
7.5.
They're working on my number.
So if you added the benefits for those permanent subs that we've hired, they
That's
could
what they're
work the
working.
additional 30 days, right?
Mhm.
Is what you're saying.
Right.
Okay. So any other questions? This?
Right. So once we get this, we can do a roll call?
Yeah, but I don't think you're voting on doing this. This isn't part of this. You're voting on this policy right now.
Right.
Yes, you're right. I was just
Plus, it has
asking a
nothing to-
question.
Yeah. How do you have?
So right now, an aide's getting paid $16,500 because they're getting paid $110 a day for 150 at 150 days. It's $16,500. If you go to 180 days, it would be $19,800. So a $3,300 increase. An aide working and a sub working 7.5 hours is only getting paid $14.67 per hour.
How much would it cost to add benefits is the question. to
The
that
ed
employee?
benefits would take us about $10,000 per employee.
How
Per
many-
employee?
How many full-time subs do we have?
18?
20, and then some schools
Full-time
have
subs,
How much an employee, Tommy?
about $10,000.
For health insurance?
Well, not everybody takes it, so I got a discount.
Okay, so about 10,000 for that's just health insurance, not
That's
the,
just health.
okay.
We've got approximately 24 permanent ones right now.
And only about 10 we probably accept at max.
Mhm.
Not everybody takes it,
Yeah.
not even close.
So you're looking at $100,000 to add that
At the
to get
max,
those.
yes, sir.
Okay, something to talk about as we move forward.
Yeah,
Okay, definitely.
I
Yeah.
think that would be a good approach, though, is the benefit offering.
yeah,
Yep.
I agree.
What about,
For all our employees.
And I'll remind you this too, the budgets the past 4 or 5 years, about every cent of our money has gone to employee pay.
Right.
All of it. It's gone to employee pay. I mean, very few have gone to positions. Very few have gone to anything but employee pay. We've
Right.
put every dime that's been given us has gone to employee pay.
Right.
And, we can't control how much is given to us because you all don't
Yes, we can.
choose that. So everything that's given to us is going to employee pay. And we've looked at other ways and been creative to add positions when needed and that kind of thing. And so,
one of the speakers tonight, I think, spoke about this issue and also mentioned like school climate, so that's, I don't know, I don't know how much validity to put on that, but I'm assuming that's obviously their experience too, and I'm sure there is some differences from school or things like that, but even when we talk about our teachers and stuff, that's certainly something that comes to mind for me. So I think that's another area that we can look at. We've talked about even in adding positions that helps make people's lives easier, right? And that kind of helps your morale, helps your day to day and things like that. So looking for ways that we can make the work climate better for people maybe is another area that we could look at.
I think some of these positions that the schools have chosen to add, especially at the secondary level with additional administrative help, will help with the school climate because it's something that they definitely need. And administrators, that's a lot of what their job is, to promote a positive climate and to make sure things are running smoothly and teachers have a place where they can teach and kids can learn, a classroom that's conducive to that. So I hope so. But yeah, you're right. Continue to talk about that. Absolutely.
Okay. I think we're ready for a roll call.
No, I got another comment.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Because you just spurred something. So, yes, our administrators are key, as our teachers and our cafeteria workers, our bus drivers, our custodians, our aides, everybody, our clerical staff. So having our teachers also understand that are in the classrooms and everybody else in the building understand that adding staff with them too, that also helps the building run smoother too. More people we have to help, the better things are. So I don't know, that just kind of struck me the wrong way, that it takes everybody.
Absolutely, it takes everybody. I did not imply by no means by
I
saying
know
that an
you
administrator.
didn't, I'm just saying.
I didn't imply that. So
We just need to make sure.
I just want to make sure that it's not inferred that I replied. That I said that either.
Okay, roll call, please.
1 second. So this is a change to the policy.
Yes.
So with policy, there's supposed to be 2 readings.
Yes.
So the board would need to waive the second reading before we should be voting on this. Correct?
Yeah.
I don't think we have to have a motion to do that.
Yes, we do.
But there.
To waive the first reading and approve it unless, that's what I had pre-programmed in.
No, the
Right.
motion was to approve.
That's what I read. We've been asked to waive the first reading on the policy adjustment and approve the policy as presented. That's what the motion was.
So it's both things.
Okay,
You're
because I
right.
didn't hear that, but that's what's up there.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, are we good?
Yep.
Roll call, please.
Ms. Bond?
Yes.
Mr. Chewbacca?
Yes.
Ms. Franklin?
Yes.
Ms. Karan?
Yes.
Ms. Barton?
Yes.
Ms. Graham?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Our next item on the agenda is the Vista Pool testing program. Our agenda includes a summary of the Vista Pool testing program for COVID. There's also a range of surveillance testing scenarios for us to consider. The division learned today that we do not need to conduct surveillance testing in order to start the program. We can start with tests that we give to symptomatic or quarantined individuals. The testing of staff would likely be determined by state OSHA regulations. Mr. Garrettson will provide us with a brief overview of this program.
Thank you, ma'am. Members of the board, Dr. Meyer, of course, guests, I will provide an overview, and additionally, we do have new information, even newer than the latest information from this morning. Please forgive my notes. VISTA stands for Virginia School Screening Testing, Virginia School Screening Testing for Assurance. It's a cooperative project between the Virginia Department of Health and the Virginia Department of Education. As we shared with you at our last board meeting, we did have a scheduled meeting with the contact at the Virginia Department of Health, Ms. Jerry Adler, the following Thursday, September 9th, where we had already expressed some interest in the program. We did have that meeting via Zoom with division leadership and Dr. Bissell as well from the health department. The program itself, using their own definition or their own claim, they say the purpose of the program is to provide testing vendors, supplies, and staffing to support an end-to-end COVID-19 testing experience with the goal of maximizing resources available to schools to navigate full in-person instruction while minimizing added responsibilities to existing school staff. This program was initially intended as a voluntary testing program, but it now is being highlighted and encouraged as a method for school divisions to address the President's directive to meet screening testing requirements for unvaccinated employees. The program did initially call for pooled PCR testing on a routine basis of specifically identified groups within the school division, with an opportunity then to also have diagnostic testing available. So essentially the program said the division would identify groups that would be tested regularly, and for signing on for that, you would additionally get tests that you could use for those critical needs. You have an exposure, you have a symptomatic person, and you would have those tests available kind of as a side portion of the program. But we did get a significant change announced this morning that allowed us to change the focus to diagnostic testing, at least in the beginning parts of the program. So essentially they said you can put pool testing on hold, but you can still get the benefit of the diagnostic testing. Additionally, since then, we received the state superintendent's email after 6 p.m. this evening, that went on to also say that has been approved and that we can actually submit a request by Thursday at 7 p.m. To go ahead and have a shipment of those BioMax Now antigen tests shipped to the school division. Approximately, our share initially would be approximately 500 to go ahead and get those in our hands and get started. So we are inclined to enroll the program to support a number of needs for COVID testing within the school division, but of course would appreciate the board's approval to move forward, and also would like some input from the board in regards to your input, your thoughts around what pooled testing we might need to do further down the road. Sorry if that's not as clear as I'd like for it to be. We are almost operating in real time at this point. So I can answer any questions. And again, we do have a document shared there with you that allows you to consider just various types of groups we kind of brainstormed on, going kind of all the way from no testing to any volunteer who wanted to be tested. So again, I'm available for questions.
Yeah, so we created sort of a continuum of who could be tested. Of course, you know, we would recommend definitely the diagnostic, meaning this is something that if a kid is sick at school, we want to send them home with a test, we can do that, correct? And
yes, sir. The student would be sent home with a parent, of course, with
right.
a test kit, and it's what they call a supervised test. So it would basically be telemedicine, where they would phone in, do their test in front of a medical person, so we would be sure that that test is a legitimate test.
So right. Could you go over that accountability one more time, a little slower. So give them kind of the process of how it would work.
Sure. With the diagnostic testing, they're using the Binax Now kits, which were commonly available in the market. Now they're very, very hard to find. They're in very short supply. There's also been some concern expressed about these at-home kits, that if I don't necessarily want to test positive, I just don't follow the test directions the way they're explained and get a negative test result and submit that and say, hey, look, I'm negative. So what this program entails is that there's a telemedicine component in which the parent would go home with the test, with the student, can dial in with a provider who will watch the test be administered and then submit that test result, and the company then verifies, a third-party vendor verifies that this is a legitimate test result to us.
Okay, what would that third party be, though?
Third party right now is a company called eMed, and that's coordinated through Virginia Department of Health and VDOE.
Yeah.
So that's something done like on Zoom or over the phone?
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Mhm.
Because
Yes, ma'am.
it's
It's
not so easy to
telemed.
get in MedExpress or anywhere like that nowadays.
It's called telemed. You
Okay,
just
gotcha.
do it in the convenience of your home.
Gotcha.
So the diagnostic is the minimum that we could do and participate and that type of thing. But there is a step up, and this is what we need. Of course, we need the board to say it's okay to do the diagnostic as well, but then too, stepping it up in terms of testing. They're also asking us, and they're providing us folks to hire. So we can hire our own people, and they're paying for it to sort of organize our efforts. Then they're going to contract out to actually do the testing. So we don't actually do the testing, but they'll take care of that at any level. They've promised us the moon basically on this, so they can test at any level that you all choose to go to. But our initial thought is looking at hiring a minimum with their money, 3 people, to actually run this testing for us and be on our side to be the coordinator of the folks who are the contractors. And what do you envision? Tell them what you envision the person on our side actually doing.
I think the person on our side would help ensure that permission slips are in order, help make sure that we're testing the right student or the right employee. They would help, of course, with coordinating where it would take place in the school building, working with the school principal and the school nurse so that they can take those responsibilities away from those 2 individuals to run the program during the school day for any pool testing that's happening.
So the next step is, we're moving forward with that piece, letting them know, that we do want to do that. Is then how far into pool testing do you all want to go? And we've given sort of this continuum of possibilities. Some of it was based on our phone call with Vista, and that's why we sort of broke it out with pre-K 2 and then pre-K 6, because that's who does not have the vaccine available to them. And we started with voluntary. We threw in some athletics in there because they did talk about indoor athletics that are coming up, and indoor athletics is going to be with us before we know it. Mm-hmm. And that is something that I think that's going to be a challenging time if things don't change real soon here. And so
can I ask a question about this?
Mm-hmm.
On page 3 of the this playbook for K through 12 Vista from the VDH, there's a paragraph there with some bold stuff highlighted, and it does say that the program is voluntary, that we opt in, but then it says, additionally, all testing is voluntary, and schools must have a consent form on file for any individual tested.
Yeah.
So how can we? I mean, I guess maybe I could see where we can maybe mandate it for optional activities, but I don't see how we can mandate it for students.
I think you're correct, sir.
Okay. So those last 4 lines on there are invalid?
what do you think?
Yeah, I don't think we can mandate it.
There's been some conversation
Okay.
around that. I think, and again, I do not mean to pass the buck, but I think, you know, if you were gonna go in that direction, that probably also merits a conversation with Mr. King.
Yeah.
But there have been some, as part of our conversation, as Dr. Meyer said on the night,